Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. And I want to say, double honors to the apostles and the elders, great millstone that rule well. Blessings to the hopeful elect out there, listening and learning, and teaching this word in all sincerity and truth, in the hopes that we may edify and feed the lambs of Yahweh Shai, especially in these last days. And, pretty much just wanted to do a quick lesson on what the inspiration for this lesson comes from. The video that you see here on the screen that I have loaded up and put up by GMS Inspiration of the Almighty. And it's entitled, "The Lord Did Not Forget the Proud Speech of the Guerrilla Hebrew." And the apostles have warned us time and time again, the patterns of a stubborn, self-willed, or, you can be stubborn, but, like a self-willed, but stubborn in wickedness, and self-willed and proud and disorderly, conduct of individuals that, pretty much, they want to shoot up to the top. They want to give themselves these grand, whizzy wild titles. Like this guy called himself the chief priest, Alizar, or Alizay, whatever. I'm talking about the guy on the left of the screen in the blue, and you're gonna hear what he's, what he said, like a throwback video. But the scriptures speak about how every idle word that men shall speak, that they're gonna have to give account thereof in the day of judgment. And this individual, is being judged at the moment. He's been seen, bawling tears, throughout the whole of Israel. And you can shed a tear, that's truth, what I'm saying, but this guy has been exposed for the wickedness that he was doing, and he's crying because he's been exposed, basically. He was exposed. And there's a scripture that I have loaded here, which says in Mark 4:22, it says, "For there is nothing hid which shall not be manifested, neither was anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad." So, and the things that this guy has admitted that he's been openly doing, where he likes things shoved up the rear end and stuff like that, he basically, you can't hide these things, man. The Spirit of the Lord will have them become manifest, especially with a guy like this who's exalting himself and beating his chest like King Kong, like he just, can't do no wrong. And you got people that follow after individuals like this because they might be charismatic, or they might be good speakers, or whatever. They just like the way, I don't know. Shit, man, I like the way he carries himself, or whatever. I don't know what the fuck. Like, you got people with some weird ass. It's not about the truth for them. It's not about the spirit, or walking in the spirit, or of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. It's all about man pleasing. It's all about being a respecter of persons, and basically, following blindly. And the scripture says, "If the blind leadeth the blind, then they shall both fall into the ditch." Now, this guy claimed that he could see. He claimed that he's a man of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? And people, followed after him. And immediately when I saw this video here, and I'm gonna play it, but it reminded me of what happened to Korah, Dathan, and Abiram in Numbers the 16th chapter, and how the Lord pretty much jacked them up because they were shooting up, to Moses and Aaron. And the Lord wasn't pleased with that. The Lord was not happy with that. And there's countless amounts of examples that you can see of, even with Miriam, when she chatted shit about Moses. Guess what? The Lord stripped her of her melanin, man. That's in Numbers 12 and 10. So, order is set up on the earth. The Lord has got his men set up on the earth, man. And that's for a reason. So, let me go ahead and play you a little bit of this here.
Y'all let this tyrant Zahar sit there. All right, and I was never no pimp. which was another false witness you bear unto me. The Bible say that whoremongers shall have their place in the lake of fire. You calling me a pimp, you just put yourself in the lake of fire because you bore false witness to her, but you calling somebody a 2/3. All right, but around
he's addressing the apostles here. He's addressing, Elder Apostle Tahar. He's addressing Elder Apostle Ramlab, and he's basically talking sideways out of his mouth about the men of the Lord. They ain't never taken no breaks. They have never, deviated from what they teach. They've never stopped teaching. They haven't taken their hand off the plow. They don't push confusion. Their track record is constant, and the doctrine is pure. And countless amounts of times you see guys that want to talk ill of the men of the Lord, and it's always the guys that talk ill of the men of the Lord that end up getting destroyed, that end up getting judged, that end up getting exposed, that end up bugging out. And these things are done as an example so that we should fear. Okay? Now, since I mentioned Numbers, the 12th chapter, I'm going to jump into it, but before I do that, I'm going to play you a little bit more of this.
you sat there and was quiet, man. All right, y'all let this tyrant Tahar sit there and bully you and scare you. That goes for all the members of GMS. Stop being...
He was sending for all the members of GMS. And I did this lesson earlier, man, but Satan, cut off the sound. So, I'm doing it again. Satan, you ain't going to win through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. This is Numbers chapter 1, verse 6. Numbers chapter 16, verse 1. It says Korah's rebellion. All right, you dealing with Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. That pretty much they were shooting up to Moses, man, and they weren't. They didn't want him to be over, Israel. So pretty much they wanted to, pretty much set themselves as the, within the priesthood. All right. So let's just jump around. In this chapter here, it says, now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, and Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men, and they rose up, right, before Moses. It's funny because I said shooting up. Here it says they rose up, right? It says, with certain of the children of Israel, 250 princes of the assembly, famous in the congregation, men of renown. All right, so they pretty much had, they were just men of renown or men of repute among the people, basically. Well known, among the congregation. That's what it's saying, men of renown, right? And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. So they weren't with them. They were against them. You see it? Strike number one. Okay, you want to be against the men of the Lord, go ahead, but I would not recommend it. Okay, because this is the order that the Lord has set up on the earth. In the same way that they rose up against Moses is the same way that you're seeing these men, of this time rise up against the apostles and the elders. And it's really down to jealousy, because they, just like the wicked scribes and Pharisees, they sat in Moses' seat. They coveted after Moses' seat. They want to exalt themselves. But the scripture says, he that exalteth himself shall be abased, man. All right, in fact, let's get that scripture. Abased. If I just type in abased, there you go, right there. Matthew chapter 23, verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. Right? So we're not in we shouldn't be in the spirit of exalting ourselves. And this is, Yahweh Shai said this himself. If you are in the spirit of exalting yourself, you better check it, man. You better be exalting Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. You better be pushing those names. You better be pushing the word of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. You better be, staying in the spirit, man. Because the scriptures speak about sitting in a high seat. All right? Because the Lord can remove you and then replace you with someone else that's supposed to have that seat. And then you with shame begin to take the lower seat. You see that? And that's what's happening to this guy. He just did a public announcement of falling back. The former head of the Sakari, man. And I say former head because he just announced that he's stepping down. And the fact that he said he's stepping down, man. It says, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Okay? So there you go, man. Taking a humble approach. The scripture says the meek shall inherit the earth, not the proud. Okay? Lowest seat. Lowest damn. Begin with shame. Let me see. Begin with shame. Let me see if this comes up. Yeah. Lowest room, not the lowest seat. Okay. The Wadi Al-Basham Yahushai, right? The parable of the guests. Okay, so let's read this in Luke 14:7. And he put forth a parable unto those which were bidden. And when he marked how they would choose out the chief rooms, saying unto them, now this guy called himself the chief high priest, man. Okay, so he's guilty of this, all right? He was one of those that chose out the chief rooms, right? It says, and when thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, all right, so let's say you got a wedding, you got like a ceremony, a function, a wedding, a gathering, a joyous occasion, the ceremony's taking place and that and whatever, customary, the family's there and everyone's together. You might have some yarn flowing. You know what I'm saying? And here it is, you just got this nigga that comes in there and, where the bridegroom's family, like immediate, like maybe father, mother, or whatever is supposed to be sitting. This nigga comes up in there and sits where the dad's supposed to be sitting. Right? So let's read this. It says, when thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, for lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade him, right, and he that bade thee and him come and say unto thee, give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room there. That ain't your seat, man. This is reserved. Get up off that seat, man. You gotta go, you gotta get out of this room. This ain't for you, man. And that's embarrassing. And that would be embarrassing for anyone. You just claim to sit, oh shit, I didn't know, or sorry, man, or all you can do is, pretty much admit the fact that you're just a nigga. All right, and that's exactly what Eleazar has had to do. He's actually admit the fact that, he had repented from some really nasty shit. Okay, but he began with shame to take the lowest room because the Lord had him do that. And those were sincere tears, man. This guy was really crying, sobbing in front of the whole nation. And that's what the Lord can do to a man that exalts himself, that chooses out the highest room. You see that? So we have to be very, very mindful of what we're doing out here, man. All right, these are examples. Don't the scripture say in Romans 15:4, for whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. Verse 10, but when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, right, that when he that told you to come, right, may say unto thee, friend, go up hither, then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. And it goes on to say, for whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. You see? So we don't want to be in the, the mindset of choosing out the highest room. All right, but again, with this individual, the Lord hates a proud look, man. One of the most thing that the Most High hates is pride. And this guy has exemplified pride. And because of that, and he exalted himself, and because of that now, he's having to take the lowest room. Okay? So this is, this is rebuke before all, so that others may fear, right? So let's go back to Numbers 12, the example of these niggas, right? Korah, Dathan, and Abiram that wanted to take the highest seats, man. All right? So let's back in Numbers 16:3. And they gathered themselves together against Moses, right? And against Aaron, and said unto them, ye take too much upon you. Seeing all the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Wherefore, then lift ye up yourselves before the congregation of the Lord. So they were like, look, who made you, greater than the rest of the Lord's people, right? And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. See, Moses, he didn't even respond. He just fell upon his face. Like, what are you doing? And And this is what, and it's really embarrassing for men that, you know, are spiritual, you know, that can really see when a man is really, you know, shooting above his weight and really coming up against the order that the Lord has set up on the earth. And we believe that through faith. It's really embarrassing to see, man, because it's futile. And we see it as vanity. We see it as, you know, well, what's your angle? What's your intent? You just want to serve your own belly. You want to, you know, garner followers unto yourself, you know, for your warped intentions, whether it's for filthy lucre, whether it's for gaining members for money lining your pockets up. And there's even more things coming out about what Alizé has been doing. All right. And how he was pretty much extorting guys, you know, that were blindly following him. Okay. They were following him. And a lot of guys, you're going to see a lot more guys or heads of congregations that are going to be falling flat on their face. And they're going to be like, whoa. And we're just going to be like, well, we told you that this guy was a serpent. We told you that this man was, you know, the year of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. They're given to their lusts. Guys that are just given to pure lust of the flesh are being exposed, man. All right. And more exposure is coming. Okay. More exposure is going to start coming, and more people are going to start having to realize that what we were saying was true. Starting with the apostles and the elders on down, man. Remember, the scripture says, mark them that cause division and offenses contrary to the doctrine. Right? And avoid them. Okay, this same individual didn't even agree with the writings of the Apostle Paul, man. Okay, this guy had a problem with the scriptures. And we saw that. So listen, he didn't believe in this word. The word was not mixed with faith with a guy like this. First of all, man, you got to have the key ingredient, the gift of faith mixed with the word. Then it shall profit you. But if you don't have the gift of faith, it's not going to profit you, man. And now it's coming out that this guy was just a money-hungry, you know, sex-crazed individual, man. Like, just loved things, you know, that inordinate affection. You know, he just loved things pushed up the rear end. You know? So that's just that's a really vile spirit, man, that this individual has on him. And the Lord has exposed that. You know, the secret has been revealed. So let's keep going. And when Moses heard it, he fell upon his face. All right. And he spake unto Korah and unto all his company, saying, even tomorrow, the Lord Yahweh will show us who are his. Right. So Moses told him, right, look, tomorrow the Lord's going to show us, you know, who are his, right, and who is holy. And he will cause them to come near unto him, even him whom he have chosen will he cause to come near unto him. So that's, hey, man, that's what Moses responded. He said, look, man, tomorrow the Lord's going to show who his chosen are. And that's exactly the things that we're saying. We're telling you that, look, the Lord's going to show you who the elect are. Is it not written, then shall it be known who are my chosen? So if the chosen are going to be known, guess what's going to be known also? Those that claim that they were chosen, but they really weren't. Those that were false prophets, those that were hypocrites, those were actors, those that really didn't have the gift of faith, those that were faking the funk, that's what's going to be manifest as well. Okay, nothing new under the sun, man. So he said tomorrow the Lord's going to show. So now let's go down to the point. So when they came to bring their offerings the next day, right, verse 15, and Moses was very wroth and said unto the Lord Yahweh, respect not thou their offering. I have not taken one ass from them, neither have I hurt one of them. And Moses said unto Korah, be thou and all thy company before the Lord Yahweh, thou and they, and Aaron tomorrow. And take every man his censer, and put his incense in them, and bring ye before the Lord Yahweh every man his censer, 250 and 250 censers. Thou also and Aaron, each of you his censer. And they took every man his censer, and put fire in them, and laid incense thereon, and stood in the door of the tabernacle of the congregation with Moses and Aaron. And Korah gathered all the congregation against them unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the glory of the Lord Yahweh appeared unto all the congregation. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, he didn't speak unto Korah and you know, he spoke unto Moses and to Aaron. Okay? Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. You see that? And that's judgment. See, when the judgment starts happening now, this is what I'm saying, man. When the judgment starts happening, and people start real, oh shit, like we made a mistake. It's too late. It's too late, man. Separate yourself. That's why we want to separate. That's why the scripture says, mark them that cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. Separate yourselves from these individuals, right? Because they're about to be consumed, man. And they fell upon their faces and said, oh, my power, the spirits of all flesh. So one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation? Right? So they fell upon their faces, man. Moses and Aaron, they said, my power, my power. Were you going to be wroth with all the congregation? And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak thou unto the congregation, saying, get you up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Right? So Moses was pleading, right? He was pleading for mercy. And then the Lord told him, look, get away from Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. So that was pinpointed. So the Lord had it in for them. So can the Lord have it in for individuals, particular individuals? Yeah, he can, from the throne. And he can send down judgment at any time. And that's why we fear the Lord, man. Okay? And why? Because what did they want to do? Because I believe I skipped that part, right? What did they want to do? Right? Verse 10 says, and he have brought thee near unto him and all thy brethren, the sons of Levi, and seek ye the priesthood also. So pretty much they were jealous, man. Right? They were jealous. And you got, time and time again, you've had examples of individuals that hate, the men that are in the highest positions. All right, and they're really jealous, man, and it shows forth through their actions. You see that? Verse 11, for which cause both you and all thy company are gathered together against the Lord, and what is Aaron that ye murmur against him? All right, so let's go back down. Excuse me, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but... All right, so we got down to verse 25. And Moses rose up and went unto Dathan and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. Okay, and he spake unto the congregation, saying, depart, I pray you, from the tents of these wicked men, and touch nothing of theirs, lest ye be consumed in all their sins. The blind leadeth the blind, they shall both fall into the ditch, right? Now check this out. So they get out from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side, and Dathan and Abiram came out. And when judgment happens, man, guess what? When the Lord speaks, when the message comes forth of judgment, there ain't no murmuring going on. It's just like, hold on a minute. Oh shit, it's judgment time. You know what I'm saying? People are just standing around waiting for what's next. Adrenaline's pumping. You get that feeling in your chest. Oh shit, I fucked up. You know what I'm saying? When judgment's there, man, that's when all like a deer in the headlights. You just waiting for what's coming next. And we're not perfect, man. We fucked up. We're in the flesh, right? Sometimes we fuck up, and when judgment happens to us, we feel like stupid because, when you get corrected, Spirit might get on a man of the Lord, a fellow brother, to talk to you about yourself and tell you where you're going wrong, and you feel like shit. You feel like you're gonna die. So how much more so when, the Lord spake to Moses directly and told Moses to separate the congregation from Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. How do you think that the atmosphere was at that moment, man? Right? We got to think about this. And he's verse 26. No, for 27. So they got up from the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram on every side. Right? And Dathan and Abiram came out and stood in the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little children. Yeah? All of them. All of them. The little children, them. The wives, all of that. Okay? And Moses said, hereby ye shall know that the Lord Yahweh have sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of my own mind. You see that? So Moses was meek, man. He didn't even say, look, you see, this is happening to you because of me. No, he said, look, I don't do these things of my own mind. That's why the scripture says, let me get Jeremiah, man. So you got guys that want to glory in themselves, but they don't want to give glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Check this out. Verse 23 in Jeremiah 9. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, right? Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches. And you got people that do that. Look how many cars I got. Look how many bands I got. You know? They just glory in carnal pleasures, man. But let him glory in this. Right? Because the thing is, man, hey, that's a blessing. You come into some money, you get this and you get that. Hey, but glory Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He's the one that gave you that. But when guys don't do that, and they go on, it's like, it's because it was of their own merit. You see? That's when you slipping into the lane of pride. And the Lord hates pride. Right? But let him that glorieth glory in this, that he understandeth and knoweth me, and that I am the Lord, Yahweh, which exercise loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. For in these things I delight, saith the Lord. So that's what the Lord delights in, man. When you glory in him. Okay? Alright? So let's go back to Numbers 16 and 29. If this men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord Yahweh have not sent me. But if the Lord Yahweh make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up with all that pertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then shall ye understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And why did he say that these men have provoked the Lord? The same thing that we tell you people, man, that you come up against this truth. What did Gamaliel say? If this counsel be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it. Lest haply ye begin to fight even against the Lord. And this individual, he was guilty of fighting against the Lord because he came up against the men of the Lord. All right, so this is an example. Let this be a warning. Take heed. You know, hey, more shit's gonna start happening. All right. Right. Verse 31, and it came to pass, as he had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder, right, that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and all their goods. So not just them, all their goods too, right? Their household, their followers, all of that, everything that they owned, it was all with them. And they all went, look, man, they all got swallowed up in the earth. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation. And all Israel that were round about them fled at the cry of them, for they said, lest the earth swallow us up also. And there came out a fire from Yahweh and consumed the 250 men that offered incense. So the Lord burnt them up. So not only did he cause the earth to swallow up these niggas, he also burned up, right? Laser beamed them niggas up, man. The 250 that burned incense, man. Okay, now you could seem like you're a man of renown before the people, man. You could be, you know what I mean? People look up to you and that. But guess what? The Lord is not a respecter of persons. Okay, those that exhort themselves but don't exhort the Lord, they're not moving in the spirit. And is the Lord dealing with them? Hell no. The meek shall inherit the earth. And Moses, he displayed meekness. He didn't display pride. He displayed humility and meekness, man. Okay. But what does this guy display? Look at him.
Members of GMS, stop being scared, man. Stand up and hold your leader accountable, man. Because we is making a stand as young.
Making a stand, man. You know, they made a stand. They stood for pride. He stood for pride. And now look, the Lord's taking him out. And anyone that pretty much, man, that was following this guy, man, you should be fearful too. You see, even if you didn't, you should still fear the Lord, because ultimately, the Lord can make anything happen at any time. And that's why the scripture says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, man. You know, but the scriptures are the reason why I'm saying anyone that followed him is because, the blind leadeth the blind, they shall both fall into the ditch. And what happened? Those that followed after Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, man, judgment came for them. So let this be a warning. All right. Anyway, with that, man, shit. Hey, the scripture says, "Speak, young man, if if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art twice asked." Man, shit, man, you would have been better off not speaking. Like the scripture says, even a fool shall be accounted wise if he, holdeth his peace. Loosely paraphrasing. Let me get that scripture. Even a fool, right? Proverbs 17:28. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So you would have been better off just keeping your mouth closed, man. But ultimately, man, hey, the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. If you're polluted inside, man, that shit's gonna pour out of your mouth, man, and you just gonna pour out abominations. And guess what, man? Every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. Shalom to the elect.